All right. Hey, everybody. Guess what we're talking about today? But not till later, okay? Yes, we are going to talk about, excuse me, about the article. Yes, we will get there. I have thoughts. Trying to think if I have any charitable thoughts. Always look for the charitable thoughts if you can. We'll see. Not many are springing to mind, but we'll get there in a second because I also have this. My copy of Tress has finally arrived. I have not opened it yet, so we're gonna do that together. And I'm gonna try really hard not to turn that box so that it shows you my address. Don't and now that I've said that, now I have to be extra careful because we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so welcome everybody, Panda, Linnea, My Sour. You're new. Hello, book lover. At least you're new as far as I can tell. Maybe you have a new username or something, but I don't recognize you. So welcome to the stream. Happy to have you, Jingles. Jingles. I'm just gonna go with Jingles. And Joshua, yes. I don't know if that's for that or for this. Whichever one. Yes, eyeball emoji all the way. We've got some stuff to talk about. So, all right. So as we get into it, maybe I should I should do my oh, you know what? First I should get rid of that garbage. Not Brandon is not garbage. The article is garbage. We'll get there. But I should do my my standard disclosure now. I am a beta reader for Brandon, and I did in fact beta read Tress of the Emerald Sea. Not all of the beta readers got to beta read every secret project book. We were split into groups, and everybody got assigned, a certain book, and this was one of the ones that I got assigned. I did not do the gamma read for it. So after the beta read, an author will, accept or reject suggestions. They'll go back, they'll do another pass at the book. And I know that the ending was changed pretty dramatically. I did not do the gamma read. So while I have heard about the changes to the ending, I have not experienced the changes to the ending. So I'm not going to be talking about the book itself, or I'm not going to be talking about the content, because I'm going to need to read this to find out, what my thoughts are ultimately about it. I'd only be giving you my beta thoughts, which shall remain with me. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. It's kind of sealed with gold foil up here on the top. So we'll slice and dice that. And the other thing is, I'm actually super nervous to open this. I'll tell you why. I'm super nervous because this was delivered yesterday. I think it was yesterday, in a kind of a sleet storm. It was really pouring rain and snow and everything in between. And this was left on my porch in that. And so I think I got to it before it got horribly damaged. But we're going to find out. I hope they wrapped the book in plastic at least. Anyway, so this was part of the how dangerous am I wielding that knife? Not dangerous? I don't know. Regular dangerous? I don't know. So somebody wanted to know how dangerous are you wielding that knife? This was part of the Kickstarter. I didn't do like the highest tier Kickstarter, but I did the one that would get me kind of the 4 gift boxes. I was curious what they'd put in them, and so I went for that one. Basically, I wanted the deluxe hardcovers, and that seemed like the way to do it. So, but it's gonna have some other stuff in there also. So, okay, let's open this thing up and see what we've got. Okay, so right away. Oh my gosh, I'm losing stuff already. This is a disaster. It's a disaster. Okay. First thing was on top. This is a Cosmere pin. Let's see. I can't even see what that is. I'm not character pin. And this is Vin. Oh, hey. 001. So that's Vin. That's kind of cool. I will not be using this, but maybe my kids will enjoy it. Or maybe one of you will. We'll see. And then a little card. It says, spoiler warning, this box contains a bunch of stuff. Yeah, we're going to find out all about that stuff. So, okay, well, let's get back to it. A story doesn't live until it's imagined in someone's mind. That was quoted in the article we're going to talk about. How about that? How about that? It is a good quote. Okay, so let's get going. Keep it together. Keep it together, says Linnea. We'll see. I'm not one for keeping it together. Okay, so here's our Tress sticker. Very simple. Just a regular old sticker. Okay, so there's that. I think this must be the bookmark, a premium bookmark. Again, another one. Okay. So it's not, it looks like it's cardstock or plastic or something, but it's definitely got a coat on there that makes it look metallic. It's got a very metallic sheen to it. It also matches that light really well over there. So there you go. Okay, so there's that. And then this one, what did they say this one is? The World Hopper map. Let's see what it says. Sparkly bookmark, that's what we just saw. Epic bookmark, a bonus backer gift. So that must be what this is. This is the epic bookmark. Okay, sure. So there's Hoyd. There's the Cosmere World Hopper map on the back. And then we have our book. And thank goodness it was, in fact, wrapped in plastic. That is excellent news. Okay, so that's it for the box. Good. No more addresses for you guys. Tress of the Emerald Sea. So there we go. It is, it's kind of hard to see. It looks gray on my screen, or on your screen, but it is green. It's, it is a very grayish. I mean, it's like a subtle green. That's fine. Oops, where was it? It's better than the ones your mom bought from yearbook photos to send to your grandparents. I still have one of those photo booth photos that my high school girlfriend gave me in high school, but I stuck it in a copy of The Lord of the Rings. I think I might have even showed this to you guys a few weeks ago. Put it in a copy of The Lord of the Rings, and it's still there to this day. I still use it as a bookmark. Handy like that, I guess. Okay, so my first impression before we open up the plastic, and we are going to talk about the construction of the book and how nice it is, and if it is, and all that stuff. But my first impression is that the design and the feel of it is very much like one of those Barnes and Noble like premium hardbacks, which are often pretty but not often very premium, which is fine. I mean, they're not selling them for a ton of money, so I'm not gonna hold them to a $100 standard when they're selling the book for $25, right? So that's fine. It's also, I like that there's no barcode on the back. This is obviously not labeled for retail sale, right? This was for their Kickstarter backers, so they didn't have to put a code on the back, a barcode. See, I need to dangerously wield my knife again. Let's see. I still haven't used the epic bookmark from the Way of Kings Kickstarter. I honestly, as I'm looking at this, let's actually compare real quick. If we look at these, it is barely like that. It's the that's showing you the cover. If we look at the actual pages, the bookmark is the same height basically as the pages, roughly. So it's like you can't use this with your mass market paperbacks. Well, you can, but it'll make the mass market paperback suddenly a lot less portable. So really, I guess this is just meant to go with Brandon's bigger premium hardcovers, right? Okay, let's dangerously wield a knife again and open this thing up. See how we're looking here. Okay. Buy a danger box. You're absolutely right. Okay. Let's see. Linnea says she likes the cover. I haven't even talked about the artwork. Let me get the plastic off, and we'll talk about, before we open it up, we'll talk about the cover itself. Okay. Whatever. Cleaning is for later. Talking is for now. Okay, so like I said, it looks more washed out on your screen than it is in real life. That's okay. Cameras aren't always the best at this, so that's fine. Um, I do like the design on the cover. It's very simple. It's kind of like it's busy yet simple. There's a lot going on, but it's not difficult to comprehend. And it does kind of evoke what the story is. This is a fairy tale. It's structured and told just like a fairy tale. And so I think that fits really well. I wonder if the other, well, I think have we seen the covers for the other, I think we've seen the covers for the other secret projects. I'll have to go review them again. I wonder if they're all like this same design or if they kind of match their stories similarly to this one. Okay. All right. Before well, I guess we can look at what's on the back. In the middle of the ocean, there was a girl who lived upon a rock, etc., etc. Okay, so like the first lines of the book. Okay, before we open up anything else, we take it, we do a little of this, we peek through, and we look at the binding on this. So this is one way we're going to see just how premium this book is. Okay, so you can see daylight through there. And it's tough for you guys to see this. I wonder how close I can get. You can see that ribbon of fabric up top. So it looks like it's probably a combo of glue and sewing. There definitely is glue. The question is whether it's sewn through or simply glued with a decorative edge. My guess is the latter. We'll see if we can find where the quires are separated. For those of you who know about bookbinding, I apologize. For those of you who don't, a quire would be like a gathering of pages. So you can't just stick everything together. They lay them out in these giant sheets, and then they fold the sheets up, and you're left with like a section of the book called a quire, Quire. And then they put all the quires together and insert them into the book, glue them together or sew them together, whichever style they're doing, which is why with a lot of books, when you get to the end, this one doesn't do it. It looks like they managed to avoid it, but with a lot of books, you'll have like 5 blank pages at the end. There's just nothing on them. And you're like, why are there all these blank pages? Well, that's because they just ended up with those when they put their quires together. And that's why a lot of paperbacks and other books really will have a bunch of like marketing material from the publisher in the back, because eventually they realized, hey, we've got all these blank pages at the end. We're going to put something on there. Hey, this is unused space. We might as well do something with it. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Don't love the epic bookmarks, but they do have pretty art. Yeah, I think I prefer this one. I like the art on that one. Honestly, I've never loved this picture of Hoyd. I don't remember who did it. Probably somebody who's done a lot of other stuff that I really do enjoy. So I'm not like, whatever. I just have never loved that picture of Hoyd. This one I do like, and it's just so much more practical. So it is even maybe ever so slightly too thick, but it's not what she said. Yeah, no, okay, we'll leave that one alone. Bookmark is too big. Yeah, the other one I think is too big. Okay. Oh, okay. That's right. We've seen the sample covers, not the revised ones. I know that guy on Reddit wasn't happy about it not being sewn. Oh, was there a guy on Reddit? Yeah. Yeah, it is really expensive. If you go look at, I mean, I could pull them down, but I'm not going to. If you look at Brandon's leather bounds, those are sewn. Those are Smith sewn, and it is pricey. There's a reason those books cost $100 a piece. Their margins on those books are not huge, not as big as you might expect. Like, yes, they are making money off the leather bounds, obviously, but they're not making as much as you might expect, because printing a book with Smith sewn pages, like real, actual, legit Smith sewn pages, is pricey. So I don't begrudge them that, especially because when they're making this many, they've got to keep costs manageable. So yeah. Anyway, so these are not sewn. That's okay. That's okay. You can get your own books sewn. So let's say you absolutely love this. You give this to your grandkids one day, but the binding is starting to crack. You can take it into a bookbinder and ask them to. They could just re-glue it for you, or you could ask them to sew it if the margins are big enough. Okay, so without looking at any of the other content, let's go ahead and take a look at the printing. We'll just open up to a page at random and see what kind of margins we're working with. If you were a bookbinder, it'd be tough to sew this one, but not impossible, I think. So margins are okay. I like the, okay, so the print size is good. The margins are acceptable, not great. I would like about twice as much on the bottom and just a hair more like on the outsides. Tops are fine. The spacing is good. Font is good. So yeah, it looks readable enough. Like I say, I prefer a wider margin on the bottom because when I'm holding it like this, I don't want to smudge anything with my thumbs or whatever. So, let's see, I need to do that for a book. Oh yeah, go get it bound. Yeah, there's my personal favorite copy of The Lord of the Rings that I've showed you guys a few times, the one that I've taken all my notes in and did the color coding and all of that. Like, it's a dashed off, crappy, mass market hardback. And so it's kind of falling apart. And I wonder if there's enough space there for me to get it sewn. Probably not. I probably would have to get it glued. But I do kind of want to get like maybe a soft leather for it, something like that. Unfocused spoil. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm counting on you guys to not have context or whatever. So yeah, whatever. If somebody comes along to this live stream and pauses it on this page and like really looks like, at that point it's their fault for getting it spoiled. Okay, so anyway, looks like it's printed well. Let's see, up at the top you can see there's like a little leaf up top, above the title and above the author as well. That's in green. There's other stuff in green as well. So we've got our initial letter. We've got the illustration. That's in green. So it is in 2 tones, which is always just, it's nice. It's not like it's going to make or break a reading experience, but it's the little things like that do make it kind of pleasurable to read a book. Okay, next test. And this is how, how dare I? Oh, there are other colors too, are there? I haven't seen them yet. I'm looking through now to see what I missed. I mean, I know there are some illustrations, but we can talk about that. I do want to talk one more thing on the binding. And I did this. Oops. Whoa. Okay. I talked about this in one of or maybe both of the reviews of the Tolkien deluxe editions that HarperCollins has been putting out. Yeah. And the Lord of the Rings did it really well, and then the Silmarillion, I think they bound it too tightly, so it didn't do it. But with a well-bound book, if you open it up halfway, and just lay it flat on a table, it should stay open. This does not. It's not horrible. It's not bound so tightly that it's gonna like really cause a problem, but basically the reason you do want it to hold flat is just because it takes literally less muscular effort to read your book, right? So if you're reading this book, you have to keep it open. You have to keep your hand on the page. You have to keep it open yourself. And so again, it's the little things that can make reading more or less pleasurable, however slightly. And so it's just the mark of a well-bound book if it'll lay flat on its own. Very few books will do that, like especially thick books. Very few books will do that with the first few and the last few pages, right? Then you just have too much weight pulling the pages over. But especially toward the middle, it should work like that. So, oh, I read the ebook for financial reasons and I regret it. Yeah, you know what though? Like, you still got the story. So I agree that there's something about the physical book that's just pleasurable, right? So it's a fair point, but you still got the story, and the story is delightful, right? So, um, yeah, yep, I'm with you. Hey, Alex is here. Okay, so what else? Oh yeah, I was looking for some other colors. I know that some of the illustrations are. Um, I'm hesitating to like really show you guys really clear pictures of the illustrations, just because I'm not sure which of them might be spoilery. Um, but like, yeah, they are okay. So this one's pretty non-spoilery. That's fine. It's a ship. It's a planet. Oh no, that's the horizon. Okay. Ooh, that is cool. So yeah, the illustrations are at least printed in some other colors. Oh, okay. Looks like the back page has some red. Obviously, the end pages have multiple colors. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I see. Now I get it. As we, you have no context for this, so I'm not spoiling anything. But as you can see, the icons up top are now red. Okay, I get it, and that's all I'll say about that. There are other colors. It looks like it's predominantly green, and then eventually does move on, and that's all I will say about that. Okay, cool. Um, and that's why spoilers. Okay. Okay. So yes, that is all I will say about that. And so with the illustrations, I'm gonna let's take a look. The illustration list is usually it's usually right before the contents. So we've got the contents and the illustrations. Can I see? Yeah, that's too blurry. My camera's not picking that up very well. Oh wow. Okay. So it looks like all illustrations are by Howard Lyon. Wow. That's a treat. That guy is really good. So, like I said, I'm not going to show you all of the illustrations because I don't want to get too spoilery, but maybe one toward the beginning. Oh, that's nice. Interesting. So, young lovers sitting together, and the only color is black, white, and green. So only the stuff that's green is actually a color in this photo in this picture. So let's see. Overall, let's see. Is it? Oh gosh, is it worth the price I paid for the book? I'm trying to think of how much I paid for the Kickstarter. I think I remember how much I paid. Is this worth it? Okay. How do I answer that? Because this was on the thumbnail, so I have to answer the question: was this worth it? If was it? Is it $40? Can you get it for $40? Is this worth $40? Yes, this is worth $40. This is not a $100 book like the leatherbounds are. Is it worth $40? Yes, I would say absolutely. Considering that most new hardcover books, of any genre, go into your nonfiction section and go check out the hardcover books, and they're $29.95, $34.95, and a lot of that. Well, anyway, no, I won't get sucked into that. But anyway, so this is definitely worth an extra $5 or $10 more than you would pay for one of those. How deluxe is it? Pretty deluxe, not very deluxe. Although, you know what? I gotta say this though. I like the page weight is really good. There are things about it that make it deluxe, as far as even just the printing goes. So I should be a little more fair to it. I'm not gonna hold it to the same standard that I do the leatherbounds. And so yes, we can call it deluxe. It's got good page weight. Good. Like, I don't see, just flipping through the pages for the last few minutes, I haven't seen any mistypes as far as, like smudged ink or missing ink or, some of those things that you run into, especially with like paperbacks. And it's fine on a paperback. But if you found it in a book like this, you'd be rightly upset. So let's see. Okay, 160 for the 4 books, and I think it was like 250 if you did the boxes like this, if I recall. If you wanted all the extra stuff. So 160 for the 4 books. Yes, I'd say that's worth it. Like if they were for sale now and you could buy it for $40, I would say do it. Okay, so there you go. Okay, yeah. Any other questions about the book before we move on to less important things? There's the spine, if you care. Which, did you know that French books are printed, the spines are printed the opposite way? So if you put them next to your English books, they look like that. It's a little thing, but it can drive you crazy. Okay. Got notice mine was shipped yesterday. All right. Dr. Flubenstein. Nice. Watch out for it. Don't let it sit on your rainy porch for too long. Although it was wrapped in plastic, so that's a huge plus. Thank you to the production team for making sure that these were in plastic. I mean, it kind of seems obvious that they would be, but you get some shipments from Amazon or whatever, and you're like, who packed this? So, okay. Let's see. Because there are LBs for his books. Oh, leather bounds. Okay. I wouldn't pay for the other ones, but like a Wheel of Time version, those I'd pay. There is no leather bound for this one yet. But so are you saying like if Mistborn had a premium hardcover like this, you wouldn't pay for that, but you would buy the leather bounds? Maybe something like that. Yeah, I noticed this the other day shelving French books at the bookstore I work at. Yeah, there you go. I missed Friday chat. Sorry, Todd. But I will say this. Whether it's because of this or because of the article we're going to talk about or because of the timing of the live stream, I will say we have about twice as many people in the live stream right now as normal. So it's probably all three reasons. But I changed it to this time to give as many people as possible the opportunity to join in. So I know it's not going to work for everybody. And in some ways, Fridays were great for me too, but not in every way. How does it look on a shelf near the leather bounds? That's a great question. I'll tell you what, I will snap a photo of this next to the leather bounds, and then snap a photo of it next to the other hardbacks on my other shelf, and I will put those on my YouTube feed. So that shows up like on mobile in the community tab. It should show up at some point if you're just scrolling, but if you go onto the channel, check the community tab, I will have those uploaded. I'll probably throw those up tomorrow. So like and subscribe, everybody, right? And I'll put those up so you can see what they look like. I'm guessing it'll be interesting because it's not, it doesn't have I can't remember what like those lines on the leather bounds that you see, those are like mimicking where they would do the sewing in older books. You don't have to have those ridges anymore, but that's what those were there for. So this doesn't have that. So the spine isn't laid out in the same way. So I'm curious. It'll look really nice. It'll look nicer than the Shannara book that I have leather bound up there, but maybe not as nice as the Brandon ones. Okay. Don't forget the 160 also got you the 4 ebooks. Hey, that's a great point, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. And an ebook, usually like for a book like this, you might pay what, $8 or $10 or something like that. 6:30 is dinner time. Well, yeah, it's 6:30 here in Utah, but it's not 6:30 everywhere. So, like I said, can't make everybody happy. Looks like they're 42% on shipping. My gosh. So I kept feeling like, did I get left behind? Am I ever going to get this? Because I heard about some people getting theirs. And then this took a little while to get to me. So looks like I was one of the early ones. That's crazy. Okay. All right. So trying to think if there's anything else on this before there's one illustration in here, you guys, like right around the middle of the book. that's really good. It's almost like photorealistic good. So far, this one's my favorite. I love this one. I'm gonna give you no context for that. You guys, Howard Lyon is so good. Okay, just for the illustrations, it's worth $40. He's so good. Okay, so should we talk about the article? I know we need to talk about the article. Well, no, we don't need to talk. We don't need to, but I kind of feel like I've got some stuff I want to get off my chest with the article. But I haven't watched it yet, but I hear the Daniel Green video is really good. Cathartic, for those who had issues with the article. And I haven't watched it yet, in part because sometimes when you consume a lot of other people's takes on a thing, they just naturally become your takes, and if I end up saying a lot of the same stuff that he did, great. That means we're on the same page. But if I don't, I prefer to have it kind of a little more original. Let's see. Have you seen all of Brandon's responses about the article? No, I haven't. I did see one comment that he made on Reddit. But like I said, I haven't been like out consuming everybody else's takes on it. I wasn't going to read it at all because, it's clickbait, and I encourage you all not to go look it up. We're going to go through it here, so you don't need to go look it up. But this is definitely one of those like for the clicks articles. Anyway, so we don't need to give him the satisfaction. Anyway, but I did see somebody's comment on the article that made me go, no way is it that bad. And I read it, and it's that bad. So, this is the first time hearing about it. That's fine. Okay. So let's give people some background. This is an article in Wired. Here is the illustration that they put right up top, the hero image. This is Brandon in his underground lair, next door to his home. Nice shoes, by the way. In the article, spoiler alert, in the article, the guy makes fun of Brandon's fashion. It's weird. But like those are good shoes. I like those. Maybe I have poor fashion sense. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, this is in Brandon's lair. That's kind of right in front of his office. I wonder how much writing he actually does in there. And I'm curious about that, but I haven't asked him. Okay, and it's called Brandon Sanderson is Your God. Again, just like, okay. Again, very clickbaity. But we should also acknowledge that authors usually do not write their own headlines. So it's possible that an editor at Wired wrote this and not Jason Keehee? Well, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Key? Brandon Sanderson is your God. He's the biggest fantasy writer in the world. He's also very Mormon. These things are profoundly related. Okay. So we're not going to read every single word of this, but I'm going to go through a few of the, well, I don't know. Maybe we do. It's long though. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 words, I think is what he said. He starts off by talking about how much money he makes, which is, call me Victorian, but a little uncouth, but I guess he's trying to table set, and just show you how big this guy is, financially. So, okay, I guess that's all right. 42 million of the 55 million last year came from the Kickstarter campaign. Yep. Love this. Came to the Wired offices ready to gossip. How'd he do it? Why now? Nobody had the first clue who or what I was talking about. Which, it's Wired magazine. You're supposed to be a bunch of geeks. So either they fired all their writers and nobody else is working there anymore, which is possible, or they're just a different flavor of nerd, I suppose. Let's see. Sanderson has millions upon millions of fans all over the planet. Doesn't matter that some losers at a single magazine have never heard of him. That is correct. I will agree with that statement. The ignorance goes far beyond wired. This is a cultural thing. Okay, so there's this kind of assumption that if you're famous, then everybody should know who you are, right? It's like Kardashians or something. Like everybody knows the name Kim Kardashian or Donald Trump or whatever. Like if you're famous, then everybody knows who you are, right? Well, that was true 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But there's a reason we talk about somebody like Tom Cruise as the last movie star. We say that for economic reasons, right? Because he's very, very few people can actually draw an audience just by the star of the movie, right? But the other thing is like, what would be a good example? Like Jenna Ortega is the star of the new Wednesday, the new Addams Family show on Netflix. But like that is kind of tailor-made to a certain type of audience. It was made for a certain audience. It's very niche. And otherwise, like if you're not part of that target audience, you don't know who that person is. It's the atomization of our culture, which has brought some salutary effects, but not all the effects have been super positive. So I'm a little wishy-washy on this, but whatever the positives or negatives of the atomization of our culture, it's just a reality. And so he kind of starts off saying like he has millions upon millions of fans all over the planet, but nobody's ever heard of him. It's like, right. And I don't know who the top 3 drivers are in NASCAR. I don't know the first thing about water polo, and its stars. Whatever topic it is, everything has really become atomized. So there's no more monoculture. So it's a weird thing to kind of start out the article with, I think. Far as I can tell, he's never been written about in any depth by any major publication ever. Well, let's see. We have a piece coming up in LDS Living. That's LDS as in Latter-day Saint. It's a magazine for Mormons. Okay. Which makes sense. Sanderson is extremely Mormon. And this is going to be... There's a line in this that we're going to get to that just... I almost spit my drink out. I couldn't believe that somebody actually wrote this line. We'll get there in a bit. Makes sense why there's a hole the size of Utah in the man's literary reputation. Where the man's literary reputation should be. This is a weird thing. He's going to go into... Is it because he mostly writes fantasy, a subliterary genre? But then why do these fantasy authors get so much attention? Their household names. He's going to get into some of this stuff like, so the snobs sneer, a subliterary genre. I am not sure I've read an article that is as snobby as this one. So it's, it's almost like projection or like, some kind of preemptive defense. I don't know. It's very strange. These guys are all household names. Right. Well, okay. So the Harry Potter books made J.K. Rowling a household name for obvious reasons. Margaret Atwood, I don't know that you could call Margaret Atwood a household name, and certainly not George Martin, until they got their big adaptations. Obviously, Game of Thrones on HBO, and then Margaret Atwood with The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. That's not to say people didn't know what A Handmaid's Tale was. Obviously, they did. But it was comparatively, like compared to something like Harry Potter, Handmaid's Tale was pretty niche. It was read by a lot of, literary students, literature students in college, or feminists, or whatever. And they adored it, and it's well loved and well known. But it wasn't, I don't know about household name for Margaret Atwood until she got the adaptation. So I don't know. There's something there, and he does kind of say that. Could it be finally because he's a weirdo Mormon? That's not even the line. That's not even the line. I barely caught this the first time through. Could it be because he's a weirdo Mormon? Like, look, okay, full disclosure, I grew up Mormon. I still, culturally at least, I consider myself Mormon, even if I'm not, shall we say, the most practicing in the world. So, there you go. There's Joshua proving my point. Oh yeah, that's another. Yeah, wait, let's not. That's a topic for a different day. Anyway, a weirdo Mormon. I only bring this up because like there are precious few groups, like group identities, you could write a line like that about and not get burned at the stake culturally. In today's world, that is Mormons are one of them. Lucky for him. But like it just feels really weird in 2023 to write a line like he's a weirdo Mormon. Only Orson Scott Card is also a weirdo. Well, anyway, yeah, okay. Sanderson, when I eventually meet him in person, makes versions of these excuses. Is like, well, whatever, blah blah blah. It's kind of fun to talk about until it isn't. It's like the authors of this article is getting bored by his own research. That's when I realize in a panic that I now have a problem. Sanderson is excited to talk about his reputation. He's excited to talk about anything, but none of his self-analysis is, for my purposes, exciting. He's not giving me the juice. The problem is, Brandon is, and I... Brandon's a really nice guy. He's a really, really nice guy. And he's also a very diplomatic guy. He's not like really off the cuff the way some other authors are. He's not toxic the way some other authors are. He's very measured in the way that he talks, and especially in a situation where he's got a reporter in his living room asking him questions. He's going to be very circumspect, very diplomatic, but he's also a very nice guy, and so he's not going to give you just like juicy quotes about how much this or that person or thing ticks him off or whatever. I don't know. So, and like, honestly, this is, as a writer myself, of a short form writer, I was never a reporter like this, but I've done my rounds of writing thousands and thousands of internet articles at this point. And this is so self-indulgent. It is not Brandon's job to give you exciting stuff. It is your job to find the exciting stuff. And so, yeah, it just strikes me as so whiny. Whatever. Okay. In fact, that first dinner over Flopsy Utah Chinese, like, you guys, as you know, I try to keep the language on the Legendary PG-13. I'm going to hold to that, but it's going to be difficult as we talk about this. And this is one of those lines like, F off. What do you want? Like, you're in Utah and the Chinese food isn't the same as it is in San Francisco. Sorry about that. Like, what exactly, what do you think you're doing here? He clearly has such a beef with Utah and Mormons and all that stuff. So whatever. This being days before I'd meet his extended family and attend his fan convention, take his son to, this is a little, yeah, we'll remember this line. I don't know that I'll remember this line. He did not take his son to a theme park. He attended a theme park with Brandon and members of his family. Okay. So this is a little disingenuous. And cry in his basement. I find Sanderson depressingly, story-killingly lame. I'm not sure that there's what? I'm not sure there's a lamer word to use in a sentence like this than the word lame. Are you trying to say dull? Are you trying to say geeky? Are you trying to say not socially apt? I don't know what that's trying to say. all I know is that it's really, really mean. It doesn't mean anything except I didn't like him. Um, for especially like for the purposes of my story. How dare he not be exciting? He's story killingly lame. Uh, yeah, okay. This is like a this is a it's a masterclass in getting people angry and therefore getting lots of clicks, but also like reinforcing the stereotype of like the stereotype that people don't like reporters. People don't like reporters because of crap like this. Which of course isn't true. The stereotype comes from somewhere, and it's from from reporters being badgery and like, oh, I'm gonna bust this story wide open. I'm gonna find the truth or whatever. Um, but like this is why the stereotype exists, because the reporter. Well, yeah, we'll get to how nice Brandon was to him, but this is awful. Like what a line. Okay. He sits across from me in an empty restaurant, kind of lordly and sure of his insights, in a graphic t-shirt and ill-fitting blazer, which he says he wears because it makes him look professorial. It doesn't. He isn't. Unless the word means only believing everything you say is worth saying. This, whoever this guy is, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Really needs to shut up. Like, you don't have anything worth saying. And part of I don't know if we're going to get to the end of this article. Honestly, this is taking me way too long to get through. But the article doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of like meanders and tells the story of his kind of few days in Utah. And every detour he takes, every step along the road, it's just another excuse to make fun of Brandon, his family, his fans, his writing, his book, his world, his Cosmere, whatever. So it's kind of like that earlier line in here, believing everything you say is worth saying. This is such projection. Like, I think maybe this betrays some lack of confidence on the author's part. Sanderson talks a lot, but almost none of it is usable, quotable. I begin to think, this is what I drove all the way from San Francisco to the suburbs of Salt Lake City in the freezing cold dead of winter for? There's a sentence for you. Jeez. For previously frozen dim sum and freeze-dried conversation. This must be why nobody writes about Brandon Sanderson. Okay. And this is really poorly written, because he's okay. I begin to think this very, very rude thing. This must be why nobody writes about Brandon Sanderson. So recklessly, I say what's on my mind. Well, apparently this is what's on your mind, not the following. This is what you just said is on your mind, and now you're going to recklessly say what's on your mind? No. You had a previously written up talking point that you wanted him to respond to, and you were waiting for the moment to bring it up, and you felt like there was a lull at dinner. Okay, we're going to go for it. This is like, he negates himself instantly. This is so poor. Where is the editor? Is there an editor? Did this person self-edit? This is so poor. The connective tissue is just ridiculous. So recklessly, I say what's on my mind. I have to. His wife is there, his biggest fan, always his first reader, making polite comments. I don't care. Maybe nobody writes about you, I say to Sanderson, because you don't write very well. And this is where, like, Brandon is a better person than I am, because this reporter, it's fine to hold that opinion. And I'm sure Brandon feels that way too. I know that, he has his own opinions about his line writing. But this is so indescribably rude to say to somebody's face that I would just, like, okay, we're done. Yeah, have fun writing your article. Yeah, I gave you a little time. Goodbye. And that would be the end of it. Brandon is a better man than I because he did not do that. If in fact the author of this article did say that, which I have my doubts about. It's possible, but I wonder if it was said a little more diplomatically. The world unfreezes. He agrees. It's not that he can't write, blah, blah, blah. It's that he can't not write. Talks about graphomania, whatever. Talks about his daily routine. You guys can work on that. You can look at that yourself if you want. A powerful sleeping pill is all that works, finally, to get him and the voices in his head to shut up. Again, just like it's such a cheap shot. At least it's a better written line than the other one. but it's such a cheap shot. Okay. I write this magazine story 4,000 words long. Again, should we talk about self-indulgent, especially for an article that's not about anything? It's ostensibly about Brandon Sanderson, but I think it's about how much this guy hates Brandon Sanderson and his fans. I think that's the real thrust of the article. Anyway, all right, let's see. I gotta calm down a little bit. Let's see what you guys have to say. Oh, yeah. His family. He makes fun of his family. Insanely slimy and unconscionable. We're just getting started. It gets worse. Yeah, the family stuff is rude. You bet it's rude. So let's see. I'm seeing red, says Linnea. I know, but I spent a good half hour after I read this article just like breathing through it, like so angry. Because the thing is, like, Brandon is not above criticism, in either his books or in his, his personal approach or whatever. Like, it's there are certainly things that are going to rub people the wrong way, or that this person or that person wishes he would do differently. That's fine. But this whole thing is just such a giant cheap shot. It's amazing. So it's a problem that a person is passionate about a topic. This is a medical issue. Like a person who hates sci-fi fantasy. We're gonna get there. Okay, let's keep going. I want to kind of skip through some of this stuff. Okay, since his debut, Elantris in 2005, which, by the way, is when I started reading Sanderson, was in 2005. He's published 30 plus books, the biggest ones in excess of 400,000 words, far more if you count the novellas and graphic novels and stuff for kids. I've read 17 of the actual books, or maybe it's 20. Exactitude is pointless here. Is it? Like, if you're going to write the article, if you're going to spill 4,000 words worth of ink, or pixels in this case, maybe part of your research, part of the notes that this person is going to talk about, painstaking notes that they took, and 40 pages of notes just for this article. Maybe one of your notes is, which of his books have I actually read? What percentage of his books have I read? Whatever. So sloppy, and I feel like this is kind of meant to, it's meant to convey that the author doesn't really care. Well, you didn't read 17 or maybe 20 books by accident. You care. You enjoy this world. Shut up about like how snobby you are. You obviously enjoy this stuff. You wouldn't read 17 books otherwise. But this is meant to convey to the reader that, whatever. Yeah, I've read some of them. I don't know how many. Doesn't matter. They're not worth your time. Blech. So, as the major books are all set in the same universe, which Sanderson calls the Cosmere, they're all but meant to blur together. Okay. In a way, I suppose. Yeah, there's the leather bounds. Ooh, they look nice. Okay. Most will hear this and think, at that rate, none of the words could possibly be any good. They'd be right, in a way. And that's what Sanderson agrees with, at least at sentence level, since he's no great gift to English prose. Which is, okay, fine. And he goes through, like, there are some of these things that I agree with. She felt a feeling of dread. Yeah, that's a bad line, obviously. Redundant description, fine. That's a decent critique. Tranquil, quiet, peaceful. Yep, that's fine. Many things are enormous. But then we get to dark places more thesaurically. Thesaurically? Speaking of which, are colliginous. Like, so? Oh, man. I'm in my 30s. I don't know how old this person is, but I'm in my 30s, and this author made me look up a word. I know all the words already. I shouldn't have to look up a word. Ugh. Like, get over yourself. Yeah, he did use the word colliginous, and that's fine. It reminds me of, I read, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I read an article, let's put that down for just a second. I read an article years and years ago about one of my favorite albums. I didn't say it's one of the best albums ever, but it's one of my favorite albums, and it's Extraordinary Machine by Fiona Apple. And she has the line, let's see, a voice once stentorian is now meek and muffled. And the person writing the article took her to task for being too highfalutin with a word like stentorian, presumably for the exact same reason. Just like this person, that author had to look up a word, and that's not okay because that made me feel like I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Well, screw you. It's a perfectly good word. And honestly, like right before that, many things from buildings to beasts are enormous. What was this is a common complaint: sighs, frowns, raises an eyebrow. There are these constant phrases and words that Brandon uses. Like enormous is one that he uses a lot. Okay, so if a dark place were described as just dark, and he just used that word over and over again, then you take him to task for not coming up with a different way to describe the place. So screw you. He used a different word. How dare he, right? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's where I'll stop using Sanderson's words. It's not fair. He's so bad. It's not fair, which is, that's not fair. Like, Brandon may not be the best prose stylist in the world, but he's a damn sight better than most of us, right? This is not this is not something that, like, he can be fairly criticized if you put him on a shelf next to, gosh, I don't know, who would we put him on the shelf next to? Maybe we do like Gene Wolfe or Pat Rothfuss or whoever. Like, I don't know, pick your favorite prose stylist. And like, okay, so he's not as good at prose styling as that person, but I have read some horrific prose in published books, not self-published books, in published books that make Brandon look real good by comparison. So, it's one of the most important questions in all of life is compared to what? And this is one of those instances where you have to keep that question in mind. Okay, he's simply not, I'll say it again, very quotable. I might take issue with that. Okay. I spent days with the man. I watched his YouTube videos, made a dent in his podcast empire. And like, again, screw you. There's so much more to writing than prose style. So much more. It is a very important aspect of it, but it is not, that is not the only thing. Like his books, it all blurs together. Oh, of course. Like if I, have you ever binged a long show? Like, maybe all of Game of Thrones or all of Breaking Bad or whatever. And you binge it all in a week or less. And by the time you get to the end of it, somebody said, so what did you think of the season 4 finale? And you're like, gosh, it's all kind of blurring together. Of course it is, because you consumed a whole bunch of stuff on the same subject or by the same person over the course of a really short amount of time. Of course it blurred together. So that's not an indictment of Brandon or his stuff. That's an indictment of you, dear author. Blah, 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 blah. This story hasn't. Yeah, we're not going to get to the end of this. Maybe we should just stick ahead, or not stick here and skip ahead. Okay, 10 seconds to go until launch. Oh, that's right. So he goes to the Dragonsteel convention. I was there. We had a booth there. It was so much fun. What an event. It was so great. And then he spends most of this section making fun of people who went. You know, and it's such tired cliches too. Like, oh, people who go to these conventions have body odor. Like, yeah, so do you. Like, screw you, man. And again, I always keep in mind as we're going through all this, always keep in mind that this person read 17 or maybe 20 of Brandon's books. He's a fan. So so he can make fun all he wants, but make fun of, yeah, okay, here's an amazing line. And this is a direct shot at you, dear viewer. This is a shot at you. For now, fans, even the turned away ones, are in unconquerable spirits, as is typically the case at these things. There's a general air, warmish, body-odored, of unself-consciousness. Is that... I hope we're not supposed to assume that's bad. By my rough count, some 3/4 of attendees are men boys, blurring together in a mass of pale, fleshy nerdery in Sanderson-appropriate graphic tees. They didn't grow up the way I wish they'd grown up, so I'm going to call them men boys. The women, fewer in number, tend to be the better cosplayers. I agree with that. That tends to be the case. Although there were some amazing guys cosplaying last year. There were some standouts. But yeah, I think as a rule, that's fine. Oh, there's another shot. What was it? He makes fun of somebody who made his own sword. Yeah, he made his sword Firestorm. They all have names. Himself. Let's see. It took him more than a year to print. I don't know. I guess he's making fun of the name more than the fact that he made his own sword. Like, I don't know. It's just, again, it feels like a cheap shot. Okay. There were plenty of women there. Yeah, I don't know about 3/4 men. It's been too long now. I can't accurately remember for sure, but yeah, there were plenty of women there. Talk about the swords complaints. Okay, well, what are the swords complaints? One guy from Massachusetts tell me he just spent $170 on a rubber sword, not Nightblood. This one is called Mylaran. It's bigger than he is. He won't be able to take it on the plane home. Right. Okay. So ship it or whatever. I don't know. Drive it. Another guy, 41 years old. Yeah, that's Firestorm. I see a very young couple with very young kids. Are you indoctrinating them into this fantasy land? I asked, gesturing to the stroller. Trying to, the dad says. Like, again, did you actually use these words? I doubt it. I doubt that you walked up to somebody and said, it's possible with the right inflection that maybe you could get away with that, but it's such a condescending question that I can't imagine you would get much response out of that. And you know, I guess trying to picture the situation, somebody comes up to me and says, are you indoctrinating them into this fantasy land? I might look at the guy like, are you an ass? You know, and just, yeah, trying to, and walk away like, who's this idiot? Like, yeah, what a stupid question. I don't know. Josh, what did you want me to talk about with the swords complaint? Okay. One question I ask practically everyone is, why Sanderson? That's a fair question. Okay, great. So why Sanderson? You're at a Sanderson convention. You already know they're fans. Now you want to know why they're fans. Okay, great. Fair question. I only need to ask it a few times to realize the answer is always the same. It's a two-parter. First of all, the characters. They feel like real people. Blah, blah, blah. The second answer is his worlds. Okay, so characters and world building, which is, yeah, it tells half the story. It's not just his characters, and he does mention this. Multiple parents say they've named their kids after their favorites, usually the princely protagonists who've overcome various depressions and triumphed chivalrically. Right. It's not just the characters, it's what the characters go through. It's the character growth. It's like I for those of you who are listening to the podcast as I'm going through Joe Abercrombie, we're doing the First Law for the first time. Ryan loves the First Law. He thinks it's fantastic. It's not going so well for me, and part of it is that I think he did a good job of drawing characters, but I don't see him doing a good job of doing anything with them. You know, character growth, or even like I talk about in Elantris. Sometimes it's not about the character growth, but seeing the characters pitted against certain types of situations. I don't see any of that in Abercrombie, at least to this point. I'm halfway through the third book, so no spoilers. But anyway, my point just being to say that it's the characters is only half of the story. This is getting closer to it, but it's still not quite like he's taking the things that people actually love about Sanderson and giving those things really short shrift, as compared to how long he spent on the prose and how awful he thinks the prose is. Let's see, the world building. Yeah, this is where, you know, this is at least one of the things that I can agree with. Yeah, this is why he's so popular. It's because, going back to my buildings analogy, many authors build houses, really nice houses. Some authors build skyscrapers with their world building. Sanderson's trying to build a whole damn city by himself, ish, and that is notable, and it is really interesting to watch. It's really fun to experience as things are going along. Let's see. So the second answer is just the inverse of the first. You can't have world building without character building. Yes, you can. I didn't even catch this line before. Yes, you can. And many authors do. It is a common pitfall, I would say, actually. You can have world building without character building. And he doesn't. This is one of the things that makes him good at what he does. You unbelievable jackass. Some characters die, some become gods. The good ones, and most of them are good, are very good, inspiringly good. How dare they? No one has sex. Not true. They only save lives. Again, not true. And it's for somebody who claims to have read 17 or maybe 20 of Brandon's books, it's like, by putting that earlier in the article, now I know that this author is being willfully blind to what goes on in the books, that they don't care to actually engage with the texts. What they want to do is jump on the bandwagon with those who do complain about Brandon. Obviously Brandon has his detractors in the sci-fi fantasy community. That's fine. You know, you can't please everybody. So yes, he has his detractors, and it's kind of like this author just went through and found all the most common complaints about Brandon and then magnified them in the pages of Wired. This simply isn't true. It is true that he is not going to put graphic sex on screen, so to speak, you know, right there on the page. But it's being willfully blind about what's in the books. What nobody, not a single person, complains about in my 2 days walking the palace floors is Sanderson's writing. Right. It's because if they mention them at all, it's to acknowledge they're easier to read than, say, Tolkien's. They don't mention his sentences at all. Nobody complains about Sanderson's writing. And I think it's because for those of us who have read the books, like, we understand. We know he's not like a dazzling prose stylist. It's priced in. So we're not going to go to a Sanderson convention talk to a reporter and say, and the reporter says, why do you love Brandon? We're not going to lead with, well, despite the fact that his prose is, not up to the standard of Gene Wolfe or whatever. We're not going to start with that. We're going to say what we like about it. Nobody complains about his writing. He doesn't mention, he goes to great pains earlier to say, I asked this question of people and here's the response I got. Here, he's telling us that nobody is complaining about Sanderson's writing. What he's not telling us is that he asked anybody about it. It doesn't sound like he went to anybody and said, so, is there anything that you think is subpar? Is there anything that you don't like about Brandon's books? So if you did, you told us you asked the other question. So where's this question? It's like, what, you went to a Sanderson convention and what did you expect? I don't know what we're trying to get to. I really want to get to that line that I was blown away by. Okay. Sorry. I'm going to take a second. I know we're going long today. That's fine. Clearly this reporter did what they wanted, stir stuff up. Absolutely. Let's see. He's jealous of a guy who literally went as far as you pretty much can in a literary sense. In one literary sense, like there is something to be said for, peer recognition or professional recognition versus popular recognition. It's a dichotomy. It's a false dichotomy, but it's a distinction that is fair to talk about. You often will either please the people or please the critics. Like Charles Dickens would be a great example of this. He was not critically beloved for a while. Critics hated his stuff because people loved it. And Brandon kind of falls into, I'm not saying he's Charles Dickens per se. I'm just saying they kind of occupy a similar space in that they are popularly loved and then critically not so much. So he's gone as far as you can go in a popular literary sense. I think that's fair. But I think what the article author is trying to say is, but he hasn't won all of the awards and he isn't talked about by all the right people. So, okay. You can not like him, but this is so dumb. Yeah, there you go. Oh, and I wanted to come back to this. Oh, Danny Boy says, clearly this reporter did what they wanted, stir stuff up, which is true, which is why I said at the beginning, and I'll say it again here toward the end, I am encouraging you all. I did not link to this article in the description. I encourage you to not go look it up. And I will be instituting a personal 1-year moratorium on Wired. It's a website that I've read somewhat frequently over the years. And I won't be clicking on anything. I won't be going to Wired for 1 year. This is such an outrageous hit piece. So he stirred stuff up, but yes, I'm hoping that in my own little way, I can help them to pay a price for something so bad. So for a minimum 1 year, I won't be going to Wired. So, okay. Yo, but what that shower capable of? Absolutely. Daniel, I was just mentioning earlier, I haven't watched your video yet because I wanted to get this live stream done first, and then I'm going to go get the catharsis that you promise with your video. So I will get that. Okay, let's get back to it. I want to get to this one line because it's so egregiously bad that I couldn't believe that I had read this in a major magazine. Here it is. Oh my gosh, you guys, here it is. Let's start with this paragraph. Well, let's see where. Oh yeah, there's that. This is the quote that was printed in the Tress box that we just looked at. A story doesn't live until it's imagined in someone's mind. Do I know what that means? Not exactly. That's exactly why I read science fiction and fantasy. That's reasonable. I like that sort of thing, just like this author seems to. Get an evocative, interesting line, and then ponder on that for a while. I could probably come to some conclusions that I could print in a major magazine, but apparently this author can't figure it out for himself. But, anyway. So we travel together to a point on that line. Storytelling beyond words. But what am I saying? Gibberish, most likely, and hypocrisies. Sanderson is a bad writer. I've already said it. Here at the convention, most of the panelists aren't even writers. Yeah, Daniel, I hope you're not still here looking at that. People don't care about sentences. They care about Sanderson. That's a stupid line, but whatever. I sit through multiple panels about the future of his publishing company, comma, again, where's our editor? There was no editor for this, which is called, as is the convention, you'll note, Dragonsteel. Post Kickstarter campaign, the company is now 50-some people/Mormons strong. Okay. Let's talk about this line for a second. You know what? We're just going to highlight this. I believe the charitable reading of this is that 50-some people work for his company and that those 50-some people are Mormons. I doubt that they all are, and I'm sure that those who are to varying degrees or whatever. So again, out with the nuance, right? That's the charitable reading of this. What it actually says, what the text actually says, is that he has like people or Mormons. It's like Mormons aren't actually people. That's what the text actually says. Again, we go with the charitable line. He should have worded it better. Where is your editor? I want to know who edited this because I want to boycott their stuff too forever. Imagine for a moment that line were written with any other identity group out there. There are probably a few others that you could get away with. I don't know, like Scientologists or something. Like when I say get away with, I mean not suffer a horrific online backlash. There might be a few others, not many. This is such an egregious line that I couldn't believe that I saw it in a major magazine article. It's unreal. I will forever be asking the question about this article. Where was your editor? Because they are bad at their job. Anyway, okay. I need to calm down after that one. Goes to a convention about Sanderson. Why is this thing about Cosmere? Why is this about the Cosmere, not the craft of writing? Exactly. Unbelievable. I suggest furries as another group Wired could possibly get away with. Fair enough. Okay, like I said, there probably are a few, but anyway, and I say this, I mentioned it up top. I may not be the best Mormon in the world anymore. I've left behind a lot of stuff, but still, like, these are people. These are not. Where's my button? Where's my button here? These are not people/Mormons. They're people. Okay, this is such a weird thing to include. It's so weird. He's gonna go on and he'll talk about. He gets into a lot of stuff about kind of Mormon theology and how that feeds into Sanderson's books, and that's all fair game. Well, maybe not the way he writes about it, but topically, that's all fair game. But like here, the fact that the people who work for him in the most densely Mormon place on planet Earth are a bunch of Mormons, like that's not notable. It's not interesting. It's interesting that Brandon is Mormon and that feeds into his Cosmere worldview that he transmits. Like that's fair. This is not fair. This is not okay. So, okay. Let's see. this editor gets paid like the reporter. They're making their clicks. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Adam says, it's a good thing he works at a place where he was the only one who knew about Sanderson. The editor didn't know what the writer was talking about. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. That's the thing is like, you don't have to be a Mormon to look at that line and go, what? What's that gif? Like, what is happening here? Oh, man. Yeah. Apparently not, Josh. Apparently not. Okay, you guys, I've run way long, and we got halfway through the article. Don't go look it up. It's not worth it. It doesn't get better. I will point out really quick. He does mention the amazing shower in the Elantris suite, which I haven't used, but I've seen, and it is unreal. The Elantris suite is amazing. Let's see. I don't know if Daniel's still here, but I think he had a chance to. I can't remember if he stayed in it or he had a chance to stay in it and turned it down and slept on my couch instead. It was a big mistake. Let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention he goes after his family. And it's so weird. He makes fun of Brandon's 15-year-old son for putting salt in ramen. Yeah, he cries when he watches The Greatest Showman, even though he hates The Greatest Showman. Clearly, this person is really has it together. Yeah, you know what? It's not worth it. Let's just say the way he goes after kind of Mormonism or Mormons. Actually, it's not Mormon. Mormonism is a fair target. That's fine, but to go after Mormons and not acknowledge them as people, anyway, he does the same thing to his family, and he just kind of like takes little shots at him. And it's very, very weird. Okay, well. You invited me out. That's why. You monster. Yeah, I am a monster. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, I run the risk of wasting more time on this article than the author did on it. And so I'd better cut and run. I can't anymore. But I will say this, for those of you who are still here, we started the stream talking about, the copy of Tress that we got in the mail. And now that I have it, that means, yes, we will be covering it on the podcast. So watch out for that. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. We'll give it a couple weeks for the other panelists to have a chance to read it. And I need to reread it. I only did the beta, so I need to reread it. So we'll give it a few weeks, but we will be covering it. So if you don't have your copy yet, go grab it. And tell them Wired Magazine sent you, and buy your copy. So, definitely need to read his response. Shows the Sanderson attitude. Yeah, people can go to Reddit. You can go on Reddit and find the threads where Brandon has responded to all this. And again, he's a much more diplomatic and decent person than I am. I would have gone completely ballistic on this guy. I'm sure there's some behind the scenes stuff. Well, no, I'm not sure, but I feel like there's gotta be. Like Brandon invited this guy to his home. He spent like 3 days with him and his family, was as kind and gentlemanly as can be. And this is what the guy turns out, as his article. And this is somebody, again, I will come back to this again and again. You don't read 17 or maybe 20 books by accident. You're a fan of the books. You wanted the clicks. It's horribly dishonest and a terrible indictment of journalism in the age of the internet. So there you go. Yeah. Yep. Would have tried to explore. Instead decides to mock and insult. There you go. So there you go. Yeah. Red is saying maybe we'll air an episode on June 5th. I don't know. I kind of want to get to it sooner than that, but we'll see. Yeah, I'll let y'all know. But we'll do a Tress. We'll do a Tress episode, and it'll be a lot more fun loving than this one was. But I just had to say my piece. Sometimes it is cathartic. You know what? Let's all go watch Daniel's video after this, because apparently that's really cathartic. It's cathartic sometimes to just let it out. I was so incensed reading this article. I couldn't believe it. And it's long as hell. It's so indulgent. Awful. Okay, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Don't go click on the article. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you all to join me, but I'm going to tell you again, I'm taking a 1-year moratorium from Wired Magazine. You can join me if you want. But I don't love boycotts as a rule, so I'm not going to like ask people to join me on that, but that's going to be my rule. Enjoy the rest of, enjoy your weekend when it comes tomorrow. Be safe. Get ready for Monday's episode, which is something I'm going to tell you in just a moment. Monday's episode is the author shelf with Randy Dunn. I read Hitchhiker's Guide. Finally filled that gap in my knowledge, and that'll come out on Monday. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.